Happy top of the week, everybody. Welcome to the Joy Reid Show. The person who just entered the green room is just kind of blowing my mind. I should have got a screenshot that this person entered the green room. A big up to everyone who's in the chats and everybody that's watching on YouTube, Substack, Facebook, our adorable Twitchies on Twitch, as well as everybody listening on an audio podcast platform like Apple or Spotify. Wherever you're listening, we're just happy that you're there. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Help drag us all the way up to 500,000 subscribers on YouTube so that we can pop from there to 1 million subscribers. That is our goal for this year. So please help us out. Please hit the share button as well. And when the share thing pops up, hit all so that way you can always be notified when we go live, because we want to make sure that you do not miss anything. Everybody that's already started chatting, yeah, you're in here on a really good day. It's been a really good Monday thus far. And so we want you guys to participate, train the algorithm so that it makes you a true family. Special big ups to our Team TJRS members. When we did our live show on Thursday, I met a couple of people who are readers, meaning that they subscribe both here and on Substack, or who just identify themselves as readers and Team TJRS people. So big up to all of you guys. We love everybody. Also, don't forget, if you love this tea, and you want your own, I'm wearing now the one with the traditional colors for Juneteenth. If you're interested in getting one for yourself, it is our birthday, so it's your birthday. So just use the code BIRTHDAY all month. It's our birthday all month. And if you use the code BIRTHDAY at the shop, which is shop.thejoyreidshow.com, you get 15% off. So your birthday is our birthday is your birthday. Let me note that today's show is brought to you by our friends at strawberry.me. Now, you know the feeling when your career looks great on paper, but something just still feels off. Maybe you're stuck or burned out, ready for a bigger move, or maybe you just want clarity on what comes next. Well, that is where today's sponsor, strawberry.me, comes in. Strawberry.me matches you with a real, genuine career coach, carefully selected based on your goals, your personality, and your professional background. These are not random internet gurus. These are coaches. Coaches on the platform average 16 years of experience across 900 plus companies and 37 industries. And most have been leaders, founders, or executives themselves. So here's what I like. It is not just one conversation. You meet one-on-one over video. You build a personalized plan together, and you stay connected between sessions through messaging when real life challenges come up. Now, most people hit a meaningful milestone within 4 to 6 sessions, whether that's landing a new role, getting unstuck, building confidence, or finally taking action on something that you've been putting off for years. So if you want to give it a try, visit strawberry.me right now and start your coaching trial today. Now tell them it was the Joy Reid Show podcast you sent you, and they'll give you 50% off your first session. Okay. Let's start with some The Earth is Healing news. Because the Earth is healing. On Saturday, as rainbows loomed in the DC sky, this happened.
Take down! Take it 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 down! You didn't use the curtain to put it up, you cowards! Take a look at the video or something.
Yes, F Trump and God bless America. You see the rainbow? The rainbow knew. The rainbow knew. Yes, Donald Trump's name was ripped off of the Kennedy Center where it never belonged. Look at God, and God sent a rainbow. Thank you, LA for ICE, or La Farice. La Farice, is it called? La Farice, for the $15. We appreciate the money in the till. And the rainbows flew because God is smiling upon what was done to restore the Kennedy Center to its original and proper name. And believe it or not, the please don't let Trump be embarrassed tarps that you saw there, because they hid taking down the name with these tarps. Those tarps are still up. Even though the name is off, the tarps are still up. because, of course, the Make-A-Wish kid president doesn't want to be humiliated, and he didn't want to be embarrassed before his, ghetto birthday at the White House, which we're going to get to later. Now, undeterred, the Trumpified Kennedy Center Board of Trustees, which includes Maria Bartiromo, Pam Bondi, a member of the Faneuil's sugar fortune in Miami, Laura Ingraham, Paolo Zampoli, the Epstein friend who introduced Trump to Melania and then got his wife deported so he could keep their son so she couldn't talk to U.S. media, Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and of course, Donald Trump himself. That group, that's just a small part of the board, they're going to establish a new endowment in Trump's name. It will be called, roll 'em, the Trump Kennedy Center Fund, to make up for the fact that, the president can't keep his name on the Kennedy Center, so he's making a fund for himself. But there you go. Barry Weiss's CBS News version of state media, they were the first to report the news. You would not be surprised. However, the removal of the Trump name from the Kennedy Center was just one example of the earth beginning to heal. The resistance was in full effect this weekend, and we're going to have more on my meetup with all the stars at the biggest No Kings event in the country last night, featuring the Jane Fonda diva. But what we really need to talk to you guys about is what happened in San Antonio on Saturday night. Take a look.
We are the freaking best. New York, there's nowhere like it. We can do it no matter what. We're down by no matter what. We'll always come back.
As a New Yorker, I mean, like, you've watched kind of the sadness over the years, and it's amazing to see how it can bring the city together. And I'm just really proud of our boys.
Go! New York! Let's go, baby! Let's go! Mother champions!
Yes, that was the greatest victory in history, the greatest comeback in history. Every single game, the Knicks were patient and clawed their way back after being down in the first quarter every game. Jason, I see you're wearing the appropriate outfit.
Joy. Girl, that was an exhilarating night, boy. I mean, I was at the house by myself screaming. I know our neighbors thought I was crazy, but I was rocking the old 33. I've had this one for what, 20-something years?
20-something years.
Oh my goodness. I got to put it on finally and celebrate the whole championship. I was so happy, excited. So I'm so happy for our boys, the Knicks. Congratulations, man. Happy fam. Happy. How y'all doing? Very happy people over here.
And by the way, so Jason, we're on the phone like for the last 2 minutes of the game. So I'm on Facebook. And all I can see is this. It's just screaming. And I couldn't hear anything, but because there was people screaming with me. So I'm just hearing. And I had this is my lucky hat. Now I'm telling y'all, this is my lucky hat. I actually bought this hat the night that the Jinx was in Madison Square Garden, but I didn't wear it that night. I didn't have it on. We just bought it. And he was there jinxing it. Trump was there jinxing the Knicks. We and Miles and I were at that game, but this is the stuff we took home. Then the next game, we were with Mark Thompson at a watch party at this particular spot in New York City. Big up to Manny, and then we're gonna have Mark tell us the name of the place. And I wore this hat, and I wore the Knicks finals shirt. And so then Saturday night, I put that same outfit again because they won. So I put this is my lucky hat now. Put this lucky hat on.
You better put that away so you don't mess it up.
No, it's right here. It's going to be pristine. I'm never going to wear it again. This is like my lucky hat. I'm putting it in a place of honor right here because this is Harlem. And we want to make sure that. So now we got a formula. We got the fans had to get the lucky stuff on. Jason had his lucky gear on.
Oh, come
Mark
on.
Thompson
I was ready.
had his lucky gear on. And guess what Mark Thompson was wearing? He was wearing also
You
the
seen him in the
number of the
video.
greatest Nick, and you saw
You
him. We're
see,
screaming.
you seen Reverend Mark Thompson walking down the street acting rowdy like he was 18 years old
All of
again.
us
I
were.
seen him.
We were acting rowdy. We were acting rowdy. And
Yeah.
so now let me go ahead and
I'm
not
gonna get
even
off the
leave
stage,
y'all
Joy. I'm
in
gonna get off
any
stage.
further
Hang on.
suspense. Any further suspense. Joining me now is the man who made Team TJRS his plus 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 and 6 at the watch party that we hung out with our good friend Mark Thompson, host of Make It Plain podcast. Alongside the one, the only, the man who embodies the New York Knicks bodily, NBA Hall of Famer and coach, one of the greatest basketball NBA players and the greatest Knicks of all time. The man who was named one of the league's greatest 75 players at the NBA 75th anniversary in 2021, one of the 50 greatest players in the NBA half century, named that in 1996. And I was actually at that thing. It got a ball at that game. I can't believe I was at that when he got that. He remains one of the all-time Knicks leaders in total points, 23,665 games. Games played, 1,039 games played, rebounds, 10,759, blocks, 2,758, steals, 1,061 minutes, 37,586. You guys know who it is. It is Patrick Ewing.
Hey, how y'all doing? I see Mark, you and I got, we got the memo. We got almost the same color shirt on.
That's
Look,
right.
You gotta wear
orange and blue skies. You got the
No.
you got the blue
Orange and blue
glasses on,
skies.
Jason,
And
you
it-
gotta come
and-
back on. Jason, get back on.
Joy,
Get back on.
Well,
thank you.
and it works
Glad to
out.
finally meet you.
It works
so
out because I'm back at school in seminary, and these are our school colors, orange and blue. So
There you go.
orange and blue skies, y'all. My big
So
brother's
y'all-
here.
Screenshot this right now. Hold on. I got to screenshot this right now because no one will ever believe that Jason and I, who are OG Knick fans from
That's
birth,
right.
been OG Knick fans forever, been in the room with Patrick Ewing before, but never got to talk to him because we were just
That's
we're
right.
just the little guys from Video Template. Can you talk to us, Patrick Ewing? And he was like so tall. Patrick, hey!
How are you? How are you?
It's such an honor. It's such an honor. So I first have to show, we got a couple of clips that I want to show you because your reaction to that victory was really one of the most beautiful moments that we saw all of this. So Jason, can you play A3, please? Let's let Patrick
Absolutely.
relive his reaction.
Got you.
That was like a dream come true. Even though I wasn't physically out there playing the game, just sharing that experience with Cat. I could feel his emotions. And me being there all these hundreds of years ago. Unfortunately, we didn't come away with the win.
Yeah.
But just being able to be there and be a part of it and to be able to celebrate it with those guys, it was like a dream come true.
It wouldn't have been the same without you there, Patrick, honestly, because look, those of us who are long-suffering Knick fans, we've been waiting for this for, I was 5 and Mark was 6 and Jason, we were all 5 and 6 years old the last time they won a ring in 73. And it's crazy because one of the players on that team in 73 was then the coach of the team that used to just take our dreams away to damn
Oh my
bull.
gosh, yeah.
Became the coach. So talk about the pressure in the finals. Like, just walk us through the pressure that's on you in a finals game.
Everybody, when you start the year, everybody's goal is to win an NBA title, be it an NBA title, be it a college title, be it high school title, whatever sport you're in, your goal or your dream and aspirations is to be at the end of the year, to be where we were the other night on the stage holding the trophy. So there's a lot of, people call it pressure, but I don't really call that pressure because pressure is putting food up, my mother and father putting food on the table and all those stuff. But there's a lot of things that goes along with it. And we were blessed to have a young man that I've been knowing for a lot of years he's about 2, played with his dad, who handled the pressure extremely well. He took the team on his back and was able to come away with a significant game in Game 5. But he had some help, he had a whole lot of help. He had a whole lot of
Yeah.
help, and OG and the
Yeah.
rest of the guys, everybody. You know, basketball is a team sport. It's not tennis where it's individuals playing. So everybody has to do their part in terms of doing what their assignments to be done to be able to get the win. Jalen took it over, but those guys were able to do their things that they needed to do to get the win, to help him get the win.
Amen. Amen. Mark Thompson, you and I were in there crying like babies in the what's the name of the restaurant we were at? I'm sorry.
Yes, shout out to the Dynamo Room,
Dynamo.
Manny, Chelsea, Simone, everybody who took good care of us. I appreciate all of them.
So now-
They're right next door, right next door.
This
We could
guy, I've
actually
been knowing
see
this guy along a lot of years too, just like you guys. I've been knowing him from he was a little pup.
Oh wow.
I've been knowing him from back at Georgetown, so you know he's family.
Can I tell
No,
you,
we
Patrick, the
brothers.
way we found out that y'all knew each other is that after this was over and we were trying to recover because we ain't slept in like a week. He was like, "You want Patrick Ewing on the show?" We were like, "You know Patrick Ewing? You've been holding that out. You've been holding on to that information."
He
all
put
the
that
time."
APB out on me. He said, "Big fella, you got to be on." I said, "All
I
right."
appreciate that though, definitely. Go ahead, Mark.
Look, tell him,
Well,
Mark.
no.
Tell us what this meant to you.
Well, it meant everything. Like you said, I was 6. My grandfather, when he left Nashville, my mother was raising me in Nashville. He took a job working for the Educational Testing Service in Princeton, and he worked on the SAT. And there was no internet then. And when he got to New York, he would send me newspaper clippings of Walt Frazier. And another player on those championship teams was Dick Skull Barnett. Patrick knows him. Tennessee State. My grandfather was a graduate of Tennessee State. Now, this is an interesting lineage. Allen Houston's great uncle was one of the greatest basketball coaches in the history of Tennessee State. His successor was Dick Barnett's coach, who was none other than John McClendon. And the man who raised and mentored Patrick and me idolized no one more than John McClendon, and that was John Thompson.
Yes.
And so all of these intersections, everybody in Tennessee State, Nashville, Anthony Mason came from Tennessee State, right there in Nashville. God rest his soul. So everybody all over the country is just happy about this. And I want to say this about my brother. My brother here, and I'm as emotional as I was the other night. Everybody loves Patrick. Everybody did this for him. I can't think of another athlete in history who, while he wasn't on the court, everyone was thinking about my big brother Patrick. And I texted him right away about 3 or 4, while we were out, 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, I know Coach is looking down and smiling. And this was just a great thing. The other thing about New York, Rangers, Islanders are against each other, Jets, Giants, Yankees, Mets, and the Nets haven't taken hold, God bless them. But the one team that everybody loves in New York is the Knicks. And so I'm just proud, and I'm most happy for Patrick, because I know Coach is proud of him right now. He's looking down from heaven through those orange and blue skies.
Yeah. Can I play this for you guys?
Patrick, hold on, Joy, real quick.
Go ahead.
Joy, real quick. Patrick, I have to ask you, since I know you're a yardie, I know you must have a whole heap of phone calls from home congratulating you on a win.
Hey, look, my phone is still blowing up. This is what, 2 days later. It's going off. I'm getting texts and calls from all over the world. But definitely back home in Jamaica. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, Jamaicans, I'm not even gonna call my godmother who lives in Bull Bay. Bull Bay is probably shut down right now. The yardies are gonna be out of control. We won't be able to deal with the Jamaicans for at least 53 years because of this. They're gonna be out of control. Let me play you some of the other people.
I beg to differ. I've heard from everyone in the Caribbean. Everybody's claiming this.
There you go.
There were Haitians. You see all those Haitians that were in the party with us? Go ahead.
Yes, it's a diaspora moment. And the thing is, what I love about it, and what I love about you, Patrick Ewing, is you really do bring all of the diaspora together and all of humanity together. Because while you are a yardie, as Jason said, that's his background as well. This is a very heavily African-American team. This is a multi-racial basketball, universe. I saw more young white men with Ewing and Brunson and Anunoby jerseys walking around. Their heroes are these Black men, you know, and so no matter who you are, where you come from, everybody can relate. That is a beautiful thing about basketball.
Yeah, I think this is what New York is all about. It's a melting pot. You have people from all over the world. You have the Caribbean, you have Africa, and if you look at the team, you have Puerto Rican, you have Jalen Brunson, who is a half Jamaican, half American. You have OG, who is African. So you have, it's a melting pot, and it reflects the city. And I think that the hard hat, the Timberlands that they put on after the game to show that their solidarity with the city. I think it shows, and the New York has been waiting for this to happen for a lot of years. And I was so fortunate to be able to be there and enjoy it and relish in the moment with the guys.
Yes, for real. Okay, Jason, if you could play A4, let me show you a bunch of other legends who, despite, and this is before the game, while they were thinking about the 53 years, they were really thinking about you. Take a look.
No, sir, I want to say truly from the bottom of my heart, if the Knicks do win, I'm still not putting them above my favorite player in Patrick Ewing. I want to say thank you for everything. I appreciate you and I love you. You will always be my favorite. You hear of all this talk, King of New York and all that. The New York Knicks belong to Patrick Ewing, just like the Lakers belong to Magic and Kareem. New York Knicks belong to you. Thank you for being here. You're making my day. You know how much I love you, brother.
I appreciate that. I want to echo that because they always say there's the whole thing about who's the greatest Knick. The greatest Knick is sitting with us right now. There. Only because of this. This is my explanation before it. He's never played with a first, second, or third team All-NBA player. Every great player, even the ones that are sitting here, they had someone on their team who made first, second, or third team All-NBA. Patrick Ewing played with some really good players, but Shaq played with Kobe. Akeem played with Clyde Drexler.
Oh, my goodness.
They're the great players. David Robinson had Dennis Rodman at times, had Tim Duncan. So Patrick Ewing never had that. And we were happy back in '95 that he didn't have that because they took us to 7 games. And if they had that, that would have been possibly the difference. So Patrick Ewing, we bow down to the greatest Knick of all time.
And Chuck.
And Jalen Brunson just behind you in the most points scored in a final. So how does it feel, besides Spike Lee, who was an honorary Knicks player, how does it feel to be the greatest and most beloved Knicks player in history?
I don't try to get involved in all these things about who's the best Knick of all time and all that stuff. I'm blessed to be able to play in New York, blessed to be able to play 15 years for a great city. I think that Jalen is, I said it before, special. I would have loved to have been able to play with him. I tell him and his dad that all the time. Yeah. It's always good to reflect when you're old like me now, and the body hurt, knees hurts, knees still hurt. I still have to cake myself in ice from time to time. But it's great to hear those guys say those great things. But I'm not dead yet. And,
oh no, brother. No.
I'm alive, and I can be there to support and cheer my team on. But it's an honor. But I try not to think or dwell on that.
Well, just accept your flowers, brother. You just accept your flowers because it is what it is. It is what it is.
For real. We got some great photos from '73, Mark Thompson, because we are in this moment where it feels like New York is the center of the universe. That chant. My mayor Muslim, my bagel Jewish, the Pope's on our side, Nixon 5. Like the city has come together in a way that we haven't seen. And this mayor is a big part of it, to be honest. Like he's changed the vibe, the vibration in New York City. And it feels like this victory put a cap on that vibe change.
Oh, no question about it. And we needed moments of joy and happiness, something we could celebrate and be happy about. Not to mention Reverend Jeremiah Wright, after the win, texted me an Instagram meme about how coming back from 29 down, how that'll just preach forever. When you are down in life. The
Mm.
right hand of God will appear.
Oh, you mean that? Oh, that Ananobi hand, the hand of
It is.
That's right.
So no, this is a beautiful thing. And as you said, not only is New York a melting pot, let's be clear. Before Patrick was a Knick, he and Coach Thompson and what they built was such a source of pride throughout the diaspora. Nobody ever seen a black college basketball team do that and then go to win the national championship. So this is a continuum. That's why, Patrick, you don't have any choice but accept these flowers, brother.
Exactly.
This is a continuum. You had the most prideful, the most powerful black basketball team. Everybody from the East to the West Coast, all the hip hop artists wore Georgetown jackets. Then you go to the Mecca of college basketball in the most famous arena in the world. So, man, this is your moment. And if Joy, you don't mind, I want to ask a question. I want to confirm something. Is
Please.
it true, my brother, big brother, that you will be given a world championship ring?
Hey, look now, are you trying to get the garden blown up? Come on now. Heck yeah. Hey, look, I told Leon, I told Wes, I told Mr. Dolan, I said, look, my bling better be blinging.
I know that's right.
Yes, I will be getting
Yes,
the ring.
sir.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
You know, it's like I said, you know, I'm honored to be back there. I feel great. You know, if I've been given interviews and people have asked me what's the biggest regret that you've had in your career? And I think the biggest regret that I've had was when I asked to be traded after 15 years. But you know, it was just you get tired after all these years of hearing they're better off without him. Then I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to go. So I asked to go. If I had to do it all over again, I would not have asked. And you know, I would have played 15. Ended up playing 2 more years after that. So maybe those 2 years would have been with New York. But it is what it is. But I'm glad that I'm back. You know, you guys talking about 73. I'm back in Jamaica. I hadn't been to America yet. I'm back in Jamaica running around barefoot. You know, things make a lot of memories, but it's great to hear Clyde and all those guys and Willis when he was alive talk about those great days. And for me, this was a full circle moment to be able to come back and be a part of them winning the championship and being there on the stage. They invited me on, myself and Clyde on the stage, and we was able to receive our flowers.
Yeah. Well, now we can all collectively join in as one nation and forgive Michael Jordan, that damn Reggie Miller, and even Phil Jackson. We can come together and like them all again. And even, God bless the San Antonio Spurs. They played hard. Just they didn't play hard all 4 periods of the game.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that one.
I texted
I'm going to
Michael
keep my
after
mouth
the game.
shut on that.
I was able to text Michael after the game, and he was very happy for us.
Yes.
The only thing that he said, I couldn't do it against him.
I know he did.
Boy, I remember that game.
Oh man, but
it's an honor, Patrick.
It's such an honor. Thank you, Patrick Ewing. We love you. You're getting your flowers, whether you like it or not. Whether you're embarrassed or you're so humble, and we just appreciate you. Back in the day when we were doing video dub plate, when Jason and I were doing video dub plate, I promise you, we were in the same room with you, and we were ready to retire at that point because we were in the same room as you. Because you played on one of the greatest eras of the Knicks, one of our favorite eras of the New York Knicks, and you are all of our favorite players. So
and I just want to give you your flowers. I watch you. I've watched you for years, and I am proud of the woman that you are and the person that you are. And I want to say, keep on doing your thing.
Patrick, I already cried throughout the entire rest of that game. You're gonna make me cry again. Bless up.
No, bless up. Bless up.
Bless up, my brother. One love. One love. Thank you very much. And Mark Thompson, the facilitator.
Orange and blue skies. Orange and blue skies. Let me just say quickly, who else is looking down? Up until Reverend Jackson couldn't walk anymore, he would fly to New York and say, Mark, let's go to the Knicks game. you know, and so I know he's happy to finally, and he's from Chicago. He was a Bull, and he would come here and root for the New York Knicks. So
Reverend
I'm telling y'all,
they know they like Chicago, but
that's
still,
right.
they
That's right.
love
So
New York.
this is a glorious moment, and I'm just so happy for my big brother, happy for the Knicks, thankful, praying to my grandfather in heaven. I know he's happy. This is a great day. Go Knicks. Knicks in five. Knicks in five.
Go Knicks. And thank y'all for having me on.
God bless.
Love you, Patrick.
Thank you so much. Love you,
too,
Patrick. Love you, Mark. Thank you.
Love you.
Thank
All right.
you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, y'all. I can't believe we just had Patrick Ewing on the Joy Reid show. Jason, how did that just happen? Can we even go on with the rest of the show? I don't know. Oh, this is my lucky hat, y'all. Let me take it off. I think I got hat hair now.
I think we can
I
still
don't
do
have
this
hat
though.
head. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want
That
to do
was
that.
amazing.
Yeah, that was really cool, man.
Hold on, let me
That
hit
was
myself with a
awesome.
little blotter. Get rid of the hat line.
Yeah. That was awesome.
That was
Man.
amazing.
Oh man,
That
when you
was
told me
awesome.
this morning, when you said to me this morning, I was like, okay, all right.
What did I
say? What did I
that's
text
not what he
back and
said.
say?
Jason text back, how the hell did that happen? He was shocked.
Good get, girl. Good girl.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you.
that was
Appreciate that.
good get Mark Thompson. Look, it's
Mark
not
Thompson.
who you know,
There
it's
you
who
go.
knows you. Mark
That's
Thompson
right.
is who delivered that booking. God bless Mark Thompson. I had no idea. We've known Mark this long. You and I both known him for a long time. We had no idea that he knew Patrick Ewing. And he was
Mark
like,
came
you know,
through.
Patrick, he came through.
I'm gonna go ahead and load up more elements. I'm out.
And he's been following, he watches the show. Okay, I don't know if I can do the show now knowing Patrick Ewing be watching. Listen, I'm telling you right now. That's amazing. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for riding through as we just literally fanned out on Patrick Ewing. Really, truly one of the greatest and one of the most humble, like calm, kind, wonderful people in New York. And everybody who always try to make New Yorkers sound mean. No, New Yorkers are like that. New Yorkers are chill. They're cool. They come from all over the world. If New Yorkers mean to you, it's because it's your fault. You did something to them. Other than that, New Yorkers are really cool. All right. So that was one of the most beautiful things that happened over the weekend. That was Saturday, right? Night. But Saturday day was also Flag Day, which normally among normal people would be celebrated soberly by Americans, including military veterans and Americans waving American flags, Flag Day. It's like, it's one of those holidays that's a little more low key. People, it's not it's not usually a day you get the day off from work. It's not a federal holiday, but it's a happy holiday for those who want to celebrate patriotism. And that's what normally would be happening. Instead, our ghetto trash president, the Make-A-Wish kid in the White House, he celebrated just like he did last year. He celebrated Flag Day as his own personal birthday. Now, last year, he celebrated Flag Day, which also fell on the Army's birthday, its 250th birthday. He made all of that into his own personal birthday. And to celebrate himself, he demanded that the military, that the Pentagon, the Defense Department, throw him a China, North Korea, Russia-style military parade, to which the sober senior voices in our United States military answered with the following. Ah, yes, the squeaky tank. The squeak. I love military shade. They said, "Oh, you would like a military parade, sir?" They pulled out the oldest tanks they had in the inventory, rolled them down the street. Some of them they had to truck in from other parts of the country because the U.S. doesn't just like have tanks laying around. They were ruining the streets, and so they were like, "We're just going to bring the old stuff out because you want a military parade." They were like, "We will not be goose stepping down the street for you, sir. We're going to give you the old squeaky tank." And that's what they did. They gave the old squeaky tank. Well, this year, undeterred, it was Donald Trump's 80th big boy birthday. So he replaced Flag Day again with his own birthday. And this time he celebrated with a violent, embarrassing Roman Colosseum-style spectacle on the ruined lawn of the once beautiful and now Trump trash ghetto White House.
Yo, watch out, cops, cops, cops. You're going to jail, bro.
Hey, he just attacked me.
So what? Maybe I was drinking last night. But who wouldn't? Who wouldn't be? I have a giant black man that wants to knock me out. He has the most knockouts in UFC history.
Be still, Josh.
231.
231, the official weight for Josh Hogan.
And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America? Ladies and
Yeah, so that drunk hillbilly attacked our forever first lady on the physical grounds of the White House, on the White House lawn. Attacked the first lady, drunk as hell. That drunken little bitch decided that it was fine for him to attack the first lady of the United States, with Joe Rogan, the fake Trump skeptic who's been pretending, oh, I'm just a realist who realizes that Trump is messing up. Oh, I'm realizing that maybe some of the things he said were wrong. Oh, I'm just asking questions. Maybe COVID is real. Maybe it's just the flu. That guy who keeps pretending that he's a Trump skeptic, but keeps showing up at White House events, kikiing his face. He stood there and watched that drunken fool, that drunken little bitch, attack our first lady, attack our forever first lady, Michelle Obama. First of all, the indignity of it for the entire planet. The fact that the whole world has now seen that rather than being a dignified country celebrating its 250th anniversary, we are this hot ghetto mess. This is, somebody in the chats called it the hillbilly presidency. I mean, J.D. Vance did write hillbilly elegy, but he's not even really a hillbilly. And I think it's an insult to hillbillies to call this a hillbilly. It is the Beverly Hillbillies. I called it the Beverly Hillbillies Flag Day weekend. But it's something more than that. I think that we have to stop using the word trailer trash, because a lot of people who live in trailers are hardworking, decent, God-fearing, respectable, wonderful people who are just down on their luck. I think we have to change it to Trump trash. This is Trump trash. This is MAGA trash. When Hillary Clinton called these people deplorables, she got attacked. They are deplorable. This is some ghetto mess. You can never call anybody black or brown ghetto again. This is the definition of ghetto. This is a ghetto presidency. This is a MAGA trash presidency. And there's nothing about this that is befitting the presidency of the United States. This is embarrassing. This is humiliating. Somebody called it white trash, the white trash presidency. That's what it is. He is taking the presidency, ripping all the dignity out, scooping out the dignity, and replacing it with trash, ghetto bullshit. I don't think we should call it trailer trash anymore. I think we should call it Trump trash. Because the only thing that I can think of that would be able to describe when you see somebody with no class, violent, stupid, I am Mrs. Lady said gutter snipe, it's disgraceful. This is the presidency of the United States. This is the White House, the beautiful museum and monument to American history. This is basura, as we heard Meredith say. It's basura. It is a basket of deplorables. This is disgusting. And for that man to think that, to have the nerve, even if he was drunk, I don't know what was wrong with him. And Joe Rogan, who gets all this credit for supposedly, they called it a Nazi minstrel show. Somebody in the church said, who is that? UFC was a Nazi minstrel show. Wango, 2006. UFC equals a Nazi minstrel recruitment. I agree with that. It's a Nazi minstrel show. That's actually a good description of it. It was a Nazi minstrel show. By the way, it was a Nazi minstrel show where one of the people who would have been the chief minstrels couldn't even go, because the guy who actually holds the current UFC championship, if you actually even care who that is, he couldn't even go. He was not invited because despite being a transphobic, he did a video of himself virtually with AI punching out a trans woman. So he's not like a good guy. He's not like a nice guy. They wouldn't let him come to the event, even though he's holding the current belt for the UFC, because he dared to criticize Israel and he criticized the Epstein files. So if you criticize Epstein pedophiles and you criticize Israel, you're not white trash enough. You're actually not white trash enough for the Trump trash UFC thing in front of the White House. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. We're going to talk about this on Read This, Read That tomorrow, but I'm going to make the argument, and I'm previewing this. If you guys listen to Read This, Read That tomorrow, that this is actually the perfect excuse for nobody that's on the Knicks to go to the White House. Why should a almost all Black and Puerto Rican team, Black and brown, most of the players are Black and brown, why should they have to then go stand inside the building where outside the building the former First Lady of the United States was called out of her name and called out of her gender?
They're
Why
not going to
should
go to the
anybody
White
Black
House.
go? They
They're not
shouldn't
going to
after
go.
this. And look, if they decided not to go, Jason, they could just cite this. Because if
Exactly.
I'm a Knicks player, and you try to criticize me and Fox and all them people at Fox and the people on the Five, those assholes try to say you should have gone, I would say I'm not going because the former First Lady of the United States, who was an African American woman, was demeaned on
I
the
agree, but
grounds of the White House, and
I
I'm not
agree.
going.
But that would
That's
be
the perfect
second. But that would be second to New Yorkers ripping them a new one if they ever appeared in the White House. They
No,
can't
but
go to the
at
White
this
House.
point,
I would
no
never go to that
athlete.
trash house.
Know what that the White House is no longer the White House, it's the trash house. Donald Trump ripped down the East Wing. He's putting up some ugly, nasty, cheap ass ballroom that looks like a cheap Marriott. He's destroyed the beautiful Jackie O Garden and replaced it with what really does look like a cheap hotel. It looks like a Motel 6. No offense to Motel 6. It looks like one of those motels where you sneak off with your skeevy lover. Like, it doesn't look like the White House anymore. Now it's got a big, ugly cage in front of it for UFC fights. And I promise you, he's going to do more of them because he's running a business. Let me play for y'all. This is not about even his birthday. This is a business that Donald Trump is now running. And like the guys who set up a car repair shop in their front lawn. Remember Florida, and Jason, we used to see this sometimes in Florida. People would live in a beautiful suburb and suddenly they're repairing cars on their front lawn and making the whole neighborhood's property values go down. That's what Donald Trump has done to the White House. He's taken the White House and he's treating it like one of those suburban homes where somebody suddenly is jacking up cars in front of their house and repairing cars on the front lawn. He's turned the White House into the trash house. And he's doing it because he's running a business in the White House. Jason, if you could please play B2.
Was, well, what about like why UFC? Donald Trump became a shareholder of UFC in March and then signed the agreements for this spectacle a few days later.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So he became a shareholder in the parent company of UFC.
Yes.
Is that a conflict of interest to have the president hosting this sort of spectacular, gaudy event on the White House lawn while he stands to profit from any money it makes?
It's a massive conflict of interest, but I think we've become almost numb to this massive grift, which is Trump 2.0, the second Trump agenda. Even when we see him walking around with that white USA hat, you know that's sold on his website, his personal website. It's something that's merch. It's merch that's available for sale. So when it's UFC branded and then there are other brands that come in on the White House lawn, that is federal property. So we have a history of public-private partnerships, but there's a real conflict when there's payment by the federal government, which means taxpayer dollars. And on the other side, there's all the profit is privatized. It's a real problem.
This is a grift. Donald Trump is using public money, taxpayer dollars, to build a UFC stadium on the grounds of the White House such that he can throw a UFC fight that is Israel approved by a foreign government, because if you criticize a foreign government, you can't be there, that government. He then throws this party where if you want to watch it on TV, you have to pay his friend that owns Paramount, the Ellisons that own Paramount, for Paramount Plus. So you have to subscribe to Paramount Plus in order to watch the fight if you're not able to travel to Washington and score one of the $1 million tickets. Where does the $1 million for each of those tickets go? So people were paying up to $1 million to watch it in person. The tickets priced up to $1 million, so you could pay him to sit on public property that he used public tax money to build, this ugly, hideous thing he's built in front of the White House. But you then pay him your private money on top of you through your tax money having already paid to build that thing. And then if you can't make it to watch the game, you have to pay his friend Larry Ellison for a Paramount Plus subscription so you can watch it on TV. This is a grift, and he owns a piece of UFC. So he's benefiting financially directly from this hideous, stupid, offensive, ghetto mess that he put on in front of the White House. Now let me make it worse for you.
Cancel your Paramount subscription.
Ben canceled it when they announced that they were canceling the Colbert Report. I canceled my Paramount Plus, and also I don't want nothing to do with no Ellisons. I would never get. I'm trying to give the Ellisons nothing, no money, no ratings. I wouldn't even watch 60 Minutes. I refuse to watch CBS News. I will not watch it. Will not watch it. Because I'm not going to watch a dumbed down 60 Minutes that had got the same name, but like Joe Rogan is the host or whatever they're going to do. No, Barry Weiss, F her. She's destroyed 60 Minutes. She's destroyed CBS News, and the Ellisons think she's doing a great job. So they've weighed in. So yeah, CBS News, bye-bye. But this is the other piece of it. Donald Trump is now, the grift continues. Again, Donald Trump owns some of UFC. So Dana White, he didn't like help Dana White make it in the world. That's just not true. Dana White and he had, sort of a passing relationship until now. Dana White's smart enough to know where the money is. The money is in being down with Trump because Trump's endless grift, if you can get on that grift train. So now Donald Trump owns a piece of UFC. He puts on a fight in a publicly paid for stadium using private enterprise, UFC, that he benefits from financially. You then have to pay another private enterprise, Paramount Plus, to watch the games on if you want to watch the hideous spectacle on Paramount on TV. Then on top of it, he's now given himself through UFC a federal contract. Jason, if you might, can you please play B3? What in the ghetto trash hell? The UFC, which Donald Trump owns a piece of, has a federal contract to train FBI agents. So now, FBI agents, by the way, the FBI agents who investigated Donald Trump for stealing classified data have all been fired. So these are only January 6th style FBI agents, and maybe some January 6ers themselves. The FBI is now going to be a bunch of UFC trained goons. That's what the FBI is, trained by the UFC? Huh? The UFC is not some clinical, high-end, athletic prowess sport. It's just a brutal cage match. So they're going to teach FBI agents how to fight cage match style? Are they going to have them performing in an arena? Will we have FBI agents versus January 6ers fighting to the death in that cage in front of the White House? Are we going to now have the literal Hunger Games? Is Donald Trump going to be sitting there going thumbs up and thumbs down to, people who've been arrested by ICE? Are they going to drag ICE people out there to fight UFC trained FBI agents? What spectacle will Donald Trump demand next in his dementia-ridden brain? What spectacle will he demand to be put in? Is he going to put lions in the cage to fight with immigrants who've been taken off the streets and thrown into the vans? Is it going to be January 6ers versus January 6 cops? What spectacles is this insane person going to demand next? This is a madman. Y'all heard Dr. John Gartner. This is a mad person. This is a not well person, but who is smart enough and well enough to grift off of your tax dollars by taking your money, building a cage in front of the White House, which I promise you they're not going to take down, and then throw for-profit sporting spectacles in them, blood sport, while people are getting in fist fights outside the White House, like it's like the streets of the most violent city in America, which is usually in a red state. This is what he's doing. This is why I'm saying let's no longer call it trailer trash, because it is unfair to the decent, good people who live in trailers who just don't have any money. This is Trump trash. Yes, the world is laughing at us. Whoever in the comments said that the White House needs an HOA, you win the prize for tonight in the chats. They need a homeowners association. And by the way, you know the homeowners are us. The American people, the homeowner. We're the homeowner. We are going to have to fumigate the White House for a week, like when they put the thing over over an apartment in New York to get rid of all the cockroaches, and you have to flood the whole apartment, cover it with a cover, and then bomb all the roaches out. Like literally, we're going to have to fumigate the White House and also check it for bugs, because I'm sure Israel has covered the White House in bugs.
And they don't get their security deposit back.
And we don't get our security deposit back.
That's right. We don't get our security deposit back.
We don't get our security deposit back. I promise you, there's surveillance bugs. I mean, the little drone bugs. I'm sure that they have rigged every room with surveillance. I'm sure they have rigged every room with surveillance. The Israel has the whole White House rigged with surveillance. They're watching Trump's every move. I'm sure the Russians have their surveillance too. It's probably Russia, China, and Israel, maybe even Iran. The whole place is full of bugs. And so you're going to have to sweep the whole place to get all of the listening devices out. And then you're going to have to cover it to get all of the germs out. Because these people, I question whether any of these people wash their hands after they take a shit. I would be shocked if any of these people actually wash their hands after going number 2. Because these are the most funky, filthy, nasty, weird, deranged, ghetto people I've ever seen. How are they in the White House, turning the White House into the front lawn of the worst home in your gated community that you are all trying to evict from your gated community? If the White House was in your neighborhood, you would be petitioning to have their mortgage recalled so they could be removed from your neighborhood. You would not allow the White House to be in your neighborhood. I mean, even if you are a conservative Republican, would you allow the White House? An honest question. Would you, even if you're a conservative, sometimes we have conservative trolls, especially in our Facebook. God bless y'all that watch on Facebook. I want to ask some of my trolls, would you allow this White House to have a home in your gated community? To have a home in your neighborhood? Would you want them on your block? Would you want to live next door to these people? This is the most trash crap I've ever seen. If Obama did any of this, and during the Obama administration, they accused him of being ghetto for having Common at the White House. Who's like one of the most benign, non-threatening rappers. He's just a lyricist. But because he's a rapper, they were like, ghetto trash. He wore a tan suit, ghetto trash. This guy is having a UFC fight. And by the way, the Obamas should sue that drunken little bitch for defamation. I hope the Obamas go and get Mark Garagos or whichever the most vicious lawyer they can find. Look up whoever's the most greedy lawyer the most vicious lawyer you can, whoever you could sue the crap out of that drunken bastard. How dare you talk about our first lady? Like, F you. By the way, you're not a man. You get paid to get your ass kicked in a cage. You're not a man. You couldn't even make it through your weigh-in without throwing up. I don't even remember your name. What is that man's name? You're an embarrassment to America, to the United States. If Donald Trump was serious about mass deportation, he'd deport you. You completely ghetto little bitch. Don't ever talk about our forever first lady. Just keep her name out of your mouth. Let me find this man's name. So yeah, so that happened. It's horrific. It's shocking. Like, I'm actually shocked. But meanwhile, this is kind of meanwhile, in New York, something completely different was happening. The thing that Donald Trump actually really wants is the love and friendship of real celebrities, not these people that he just makes money from, these UFC people and this ghetto crap. What he really wants is to be friends with Jane Fonda, who, by the way, is 8 years older than Trump and looks like she could be his daughter. Literally, if you told me that Jane Fonda was 50% of the age of Donald Trump, and you saw the two of them in person, and I have now seen the two of them in person. I promise you, she looks like she could be his child. Because she looks amazing. This lady is 88 years old and looks fly and has a fit body and is out there. We were all trying to suck in our guts as hard as we could to look as skinny as Jane Fonda. She brought together the largest No Kings protest of the year and of I think that we've seen, not because of the numbers that were in the room, but because of the star power and just the amazing just star power she brought out. It was called Rise Up, Sing Out. Here's the poster. And look at this. I got to show y'all this. I'm so proud of this. Because look, why is my name on here? This is amazing. This is awesome. But I mean, the people who were there were just amazing. Julia Roberts walked through. We were like, Julia Roberts was there. Miss Rachel, who does that incredible kids show, the children's show star. Patti Smith rocked the house. Bette Midler, who also looked like she could be Donald Trump's daughter, comparatively, and who's adorable and fabulous. The amazing Peppermint actor Wilson Cruz, together they did an incredible defense of the trans community. That was fabulous. In addition, Sasha Allen, the Broadway star, she opened the event with just a knockdown. The house brought the house, and then I had to follow her, which I'm like terrified to do that. And of course, the great Latasha Brown, Rufus Wainwright sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow with these amazing Dorothy and the Slipper Shoes. That was amazing. And the beautiful, gorgeous Tessa Thompson. So it was like all the real stars. And of course, Robert De Niro, who cussed his way through an amazing speech that we cannot replay because it was just basically F-bombs. Jason, if you could play our wonderful little preview.
Not just journalists. Jimmy Kimmel suspended until the people rose up to put him back on the air. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert fired after more than 30 years that show was on the air because a certain orange asshole whose name is no longer on the Kennedy Center cannot take a joke.
Such a wonderful night. I feel like I'm part of a community that's so bright, so intelligent, so well-meaning, so full of, so desperate for justice. We stand together in defense of our right to free expression. They come for one of us. By God, they come for all of us.
It was amazing. And yes, Jane Fonda is now my best friend. No, I loved her. She was so cool and so normal. Like she's just so down to earth, super cool. And yes, Bette Midler looked literally like a baby. Like she looked it's like she's aging backwards. Bette Midler's aging backwards. She was adorable. And the whole thing was amazing. Music, amazing speeches, Latasha Brown singing freedom songs. It was phenomenal. So big ups to everybody who watched it right here on the TJRS channel. But more than 1 million people watched all around the world. I think we haven't got the final numbers yet, but it was way over 1 million people that watched it. And that was so much more of a positive, beautiful, wonderful way to do No Kings. It didn't have to be all these people out in these streets. Of course, the Puerto Rican Day Parade hosted by my dear friend Sonny Hostin, my fellow Machete. So that was happening. So this was just a weekend of culture, of love, of excitement over the Knicks, of unity, of bringing the country together, of beauty, of stardom, it was just an amazing weekend that really felt like if you cut out MAGA from it, the country was really brought together. This was a weekend in which for one weekend, the whole country was celebrating our diversity, the love we have for all of the many communities in the country, different racial and ethnic communities, different gender identity communities, different regional communities. It was just all love all weekend. And then in our nation's capital, only in our nation's capital, did we have a hot, smoking, ghetto-ass mess. I'm sad about it. But there it is. Donald Trump has decided that the birthday of the country is a birthday about himself. Cannot wait to see what ghetto mess he comes up with for 4th of July. Okay, because I know it's going to be ugly, but it's not his birthday no more, so he won't be as pressed, to have a squeaky tank thing or a God knows what he'll do. I'm scared to find out. I mean, I'm afraid of there'll be lions in cages with immigrants. I promise you. That's what I'm afraid of, that he's going to want violence and blood. He's going to want to be sitting there like Caligula, watching people die in that cage. It's just insane. By the way, if you guys have not done the Run Me My Slush Money, I would love for you guys to go ahead and sign up for that, because this is a way that you can automatically send information to your member of Congress. There's a letter on there, and I'm going to ask Sean, our wonderful behind the scenes guru, to add a letter in there demanding that Congress and the House and the Senate, that your House and Senate member demand that cage be taken down. That cage does not need to be there. It should not be in front of the White House. It does not belong there. It is completely inappropriate in a democracy to have a cage match, whatever that monstrosity is, in front of our Capitol, in front of our White House. It shouldn't be there. Nor should they allow this Arc de Trump to be built, which is a mimic of Napoleon Bonaparte's plan and of Hitler's plan in the 30s. We should not have that in America. We don't build monuments to people, to Trump, to our presidents while they're alive. We don't do that. His picture shouldn't be on the money. His picture should not be on our passports. He's turned everything into ghetto. You know how like back in the 90s, Jason, it used to, the most ghetto thing in the world used to be when people would, instead of buying Gucci and having like Gucci that is like subtle and there's like a little, it would just say Gucci. The ghetto way to wear it was just to put on a big Gucci across your chest, right? That was the way to do it. Like, you know, instead of doing it subtle and cute, you just splash the name across yourself like you're a walking advertisement, which is what they wanted. They wanted you to be a walking advertisement. And people were like, oh, that's so ghetto. If that's ghetto, what is slapping your name on everything from the money to gold coins to the buildings in DC, putting a big arc to yourself, trying to put your name on the Kennedy Center? That's ghetto. It's what they used to call ghetto. They gotta stop calling anybody but this ghetto. Nothing else is ghetto but this. Nothing. You can't convince me that anything else is ghetto except this. This is the most ghetto crap. Nothing else is ghetto. This is Trump trash. We're gonna inaugurate that. Y'all tell a friend. Trump trash is what we're calling it from now on, because this is some horrible. Please hit like and subscribe if you have not already. If I haven't frightened you away, please hit like and subscribe. Also, please hit the notification bell and then hit all so that you can know when we're live, so you never miss me ranting and raving about the ghetto hot mess president and all the other things that are happening in the world. And again, please hit that Run Me My Slush Money. Just use the QR code so that you can jump on. That way you can tell your member of Congress and your senators, both your senators, please, please, please put an end to this nightmare. Please. All right, we have to thank the people who actually support us, because unlike, I'm not the president of the United States, we actually need sponsors to try to keep this train running, to try to make sure that we can bring you this information. And we're not an elected official, so we actually have sponsors for a legitimate reason. And one of our favorites, one of the ones I love the most, of course, are my friends at BlueSky, because I am an insomniac and I need anything that helps me sleep. And so I literally used to try to do darkeners over my face, because it's like having the pitch dark is one of my sleep. You know, they say have like a sleep like strategy. And one of my sleep strategies is to make the room really dark. And even if you have the lights out, sometimes the room's not really dark. But you shouldn't just put anything on your face, because if you put the wrong fabrics on, you can actually make yourself break out. You can increase like fine lines. You can actually mess your skin up. And it turns out that cotton and satin will mess with your skin. They don't let your skin breathe properly. So silk is actually the best of the best of the best. And that is from my dermatologist. I think if you ask any dermatologist, they'll tell you, and people who are hairstylists will tell you, sleeping with a silk pillowcase is actually a beautiful way to keep your hair in order if you're not wrapping your hair, which you should be if you're not using a silk pillowcase. So BlueSky is an incredible product that will help you reduce fine lines, wrinkles, and sleep creases, and help prevent breakouts if you use their beautiful mask, which I travel with. It also will help your hair, beautiful, better hair in days, keep your hair settled and sorted and not getting frizzy at the ends, because it reduces that frizz and the breakage, and it preserves your style and your color. Again, better than satin. And it is 22 Moms 6A grade, 100% pure mulberry silk. Naturally cooling, breathable, hydrating, hypoallergenic. It's fabulous. There have been over 3 million of these sold. It's featured in Vogue, Oprah Daily, Good Morning America, 13 times award-winning, and it's a beautiful, practical gift. Father's Day is coming up. If you look, you can get a man a beautiful little thing to get his back cover too. Dads need gifts too, and they also need good presents. So if you want to try that, they also have fabulous bonnets for those of you who love a good bonnet. Because you are a listener, BlueSky is offering 60 nights free, risk-free, plus an additional 30% off when you shop at BlueSky.com/joypod. That is BLISSY.com/joypod. Use the code joypod to get an additional 30% off. Your skin and hair will thank you. This show is also brought to you by our dear friends at 120 Life. June is when summer begins. Schedules change, travel picks up. There's cookouts, long weekends, family events. Life gets busy. And for a lot of people, your health routines are what fall by the wayside. But high blood pressure does not take the summer off. Nearly half of all adults have high blood pressure. Many don't even know it. Many are not doing anything about it. And high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality. That's why June is a perfect time to stop guessing and start measuring. Before summer gets away from you, check your numbers, start a simple daily routine, and actually do something about it to change your long-term health. One of the things you can do, try 120 Life. 120 Life is a once-a-day functional drink made with ingredients that help support healthy blood pressure. You drink it, and then you check your numbers. And for a lot of people, they see improvement in as little as 2 weeks. So just try it for 14 days. If your numbers don't improve, they'll take it back and give you a full refund. It tastes great, and it's made from a blend of superfood juices. It fits into your real life, whether you're at home, you're traveling, you pop it in your bag, or if you're just trying to stay consistent during the busy summer. The powdered version, which is the better one to travel with because you don't have to worry about, getting it taken when you try to go through security. It is great because it only has 1 gram of sugar if you're also watching your blood sugar. So if you'd like to try, go to 120life.com. That is 120life.com. Use my code JOY or the code REID, R-E-I-D, for 20% off. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. If your blood pressure doesn't come down, you get a full refund. So go to 120life.com, use the code JOY or REID to save 20%. Don't wait till next month. Nothing to lose except your higher blood pressure numbers. 120life.com, use the code JOY or REID for 20% off. All right, these statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease. Okay, so today it was revealed, and I actually just got this before the show from a great source, that the cryptocurrency pack called Protect Progress has dropped another $1.5 million on Adrian Boafo's campaign in Maryland. This is the race we've been telling you about, which is the race to replace Steny Hoyer in Congress. And that puts the total that this group called Protect Progress, they have spent a total, that puts the total at more than $4.8 million just for this one guy. Now, what is Protect Progress? It sounds like it would just be like a benign progressive group, right? Well, it is a pretend progressive PAC, which supports liberal Democratic candidates that it expects to support the expansion of crypto and blockchain technology. And as you know, Boafo is a former crypto guy. I think he was a crypto lobbyist. But they're just the liberal front group for the crypto world. They operate closely with 2 other crypto-aligned super PACs that are not liberal, that are openly not liberal. One called Fair Shake and a Republican one called Defend American Jobs, which is literally the Republican equivalent of Protect Progress. So what you're seeing is what I call blackwashing. These groups that try to look like, oh no, I'm just a neutral, like progressive group with like a benign name. They come out and they support Black candidates, but they don't say it's about crypto. If you look at the $1.5 million worth of ads that Adrian Boafo is running, none of them talk about crypto. The ads actually talk about keeping ICE out of our police department, fighting Donald Trump, standing up for people who have problems paying their bills, affordability. Like he's saying like Mamdani things, but it ain't no Mamdani. Do not be fooled. This candidate, and I know it seems like I'm picking on him a lot, but one of the reasons I do is that he's the most sort of, to me, he's a cloak and dagger candidate. This is a blackwashed candidate, meaning that he's presenting issues that do not align with where he's getting his money. And what I would be concerned about if you were, because early voting has started. My cousin actually called me yesterday talking through some of the ballot in Maryland because she's, trying to get to vote. This guy never talks about the things that are actually where his money comes from. The funding comes from 2 main places, crypto and Israel, a group which is called Democratic Majority for Israel is his other big source of cash. So those are the 2 groups supporting him, but none of the ads talk about those things. None of the ads talk about any of that. And that makes me nervous. That would make me nervous to be a constituent of somebody who is running on stuff that they're not telling you about in their ads. So the promises they're making have nothing to do with the fact that they're going to go in and slavishly devote for whatever crypto wants or whatever Israel wants, but that is what they're going to do. So we have asked them to come on the show. Thus far, they have not taken us up on the offer. Happy to interview you, Adrian Boafo. You're welcome to come on, but you're going to have to answer some questions about crypto in Israel. I want to know if you believe there's a genocide going on, not just in Gaza, but in Lebanon. I'm going to guess I know what your answer is, but I'm happy to hear it if you've got an answer that would be surprising to me. And yes, he's gotten all the big endorsements, but he got all the big endorsements because of Steny Hoyer. Steny Hoyer made sure that he got the governor, that he got Senator Alsobrooks, but the other Maryland senator, Van Hollen, ain't endorsed him. And why didn't Van Hollen endorse him? AIPAC. because he said, hey, AIPAC is trying to fool y'all and back in this guy. And I trust Chris Van Hollen because he's been consistent on this issue that the United States has to stand up to this country. This is actually the anniversary of the downing of the USS Liberty, which was an American Navy ship that was downed by Israel during their 6-day war. They literally bombed an American ship. Some of the survivors of the USS Liberty were on Capitol Hill last week talking about the fact that they're concerned that there's never been any closure. And who invited them? Thomas Massie, the guy who just got beat in a primary by AIPAC. They put the money in to get rid of him. Why? Because he does stuff like this. I don't agree with Thomas Massie on literally anything, but he is the one who brought those guys in and talked about this issue with them to make sure that people understand that that country has not always acted in our interests. So there it is. You've got candidates who are supporting, without question, a country that bombed a U.S. Navy ship during their 6-day war in 1967, have never been held accountable for it, and are now starting a second genocide in Lebanon, occupying southern Lebanon in order to take that for their Greater Israel project. They're an expansionist nuclear power. This is why I harp on it. And later in the show, I'm going to play you a clip that explains to me why we need to really think about it. Because it isn't just what they do to brown people in their region where they live. It's what they are causing people who are aligned with them to replicate outside of that region. People are replicating the same behavior, the same violent, murderous behavior outside of that region who are aligned with them. And I'm going to show you guys somebody who's doing that. Let's go to Florida, because there's always something about Florida. Your boy Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds, who is running for governor, did an event in which he, speaking of blackwashing, he's blackwashing MAGA, right? I mean, blackwashing is kind of everywhere. They're blackwashing crypto, blackwashing AIPAC, now they're blackwashing MAGA. He goes out there and, he talks a good game. And he, to a lot of black folks in Florida, I'm getting so the feedback that people see him as sort of, he seems relatively normal to them because they don't pay that. If you're not paying that much attention, he just seems like a regular brother, but he's not. He did an event in which he touted what his educational policies would look like if and when he becomes the governor. If Jason, if you could please play that. C1.
United States. Our kids have to be prepared to hit the ground running on day one. And being able to master reading is at the core of that. Our state will refocus our efforts into that. We have seen what's occurred in the state of Mississippi. They call it the Mississippi Miracle. But when it comes to ed reform, Florida has led the way over the last 30 years. And we're going to continue to lead the way into the future. God bless you, and thank you all.
Oh, Jesus be a dictionary. Dude, brother man, that you see next to it, this you can't tout education if you can't spell. See what I'm saying is, Byron. See, if you can't spell, achievability, then fixing education may not be achievable for you. Because you want it to be achievability, but what you spelled there was without a space, achieve ability, you see. But if you consulted Merriam-Webster, you said blink twice. JSRPXS said blink twice if you need help. They said that's the way they like it in Florida, said Kendra. Unfortunately, that is the way they like it in Florida. They're just like, is it a Republican? I'll vote for it. It's like, hey, I'm Satan. I'm running for governor. Are you a Republican? Yeah. I said I'm Satan, but I am a Republican. I'll vote for you. A Republican? Yeah, anybody. But it's always close. And, we're going to talk about it in another show. But, the Democratic side is not shaping up to really bring their strongest argument against Byron Donalds. And so I think we need to start paying attention to him, because it may be one of those vote against Byron Donalds situations. The guy who's running on the other side, David Jolly, is a very good guy. We're going to have him on the show. Very, very good guy, a decent human being, very kind man, very good, smart guy. But he needs to come with something really strong and powerful to beat this guy, even though he's an idiot. And even though he's a MAGA who said Donald Trump gets an A++ for the economy. A++, he said. He said it gets an A++. That better be in an ad by David Jolly. Somebody said muy poco. You know, I mean, yes, he's an embarrassment. He's Clarence Thomas. He's a younger Clarence Thomas. And a lot of Black folks are going to vote for him because there's a white candidate on the other side and he's the brother and people will vote for him. And then they're going to be unpleasantly surprised. Okay, let's move on. We got a lot to get into on the show, but let's go to our next topics. The guy who is going to be, well, who Donald Trump has now nominated to be the next U.S. Attorney General is his own former defense attorney in the hush money case. And also his newest attack dog, having followed Pamela Jo Bondi against anyone who would dare to hold Trump or his insurrectionist horde accountable. Take a quick, brief reminder of who Todd Blanche is.
Top law enforcement official right now. Would you be okay with people who were convicted of hurting police getting taxpayer money?
Just to be clear, people that hurt police get money all the time. Okay, there's a process where if you believe you have your rights violated, you can apply for funds, you can sue, you can file a claim, you can go to court. In some of those cases, the state, the government, the federal government settles those cases. It's abhorrent to ever touch a law enforcement officer, which is why anytime anybody does that, and it's a federal officer, we'll prosecute them. But that's a completely different question with whether an individual is allowed to apply for a claim. Whether they'll get a claim, depends. I can't, it would not be appropriate for me to talk about absolutes, like absolutely not, under no circumstances. I mean, we can talk about hypotheticals till we're blue in the face, but that really wouldn't be fruitful.
What about Charlottesville and the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally? Were they involved in that?
Yes. So what we allege in the indictment and what the grand jury found is that one of the individuals that they paid was one of the folks who helped organize that terrible event. And so so imagine what we're talking about, Laura. We're talking about an organization that actively came out and just screamed it from the top of their lungs.
So just so people understand watching this, did these informants, in some cases, given the evidence you've seen, actually initiate what would ultimately be these activities? And obviously, Charlottesville ended with a tragedy.
Well, we know that they were part of those. They were part of it. Whether they were the leaders or the initiators, that'll come out, I think, eventually. But what we do know is that the very entities that this group was raising money to go against are the very entities that they were taking the money in and paying to these entities and these individuals associated with those groups.
What was the money used for?
Well, we don't know, because again, all we know is that they set up these fictitious bank accounts.
Fake names, like the Constitution Group or whatever it was called. Then they had one called Fox Photography.
Right, completely fictitious as far as the investigation has shown, and they were using it simply to funnel money to these individuals. The indictment talks about a situation where they paid an individual to steal documents from the organization and then return the documents, and then when somebody else took the hit for it, they paid that person too. To take the hit for that. And so,
last question to you about the future. You said this week that you believe President Trump absolutely faced prison if he hadn't won the election in 2024. Democrats have been talking a lot about what they call Project 2029, their plans to prosecute the president, administration officials, ICE agents after the term is up if they regain power either on Capitol Hill or in the White House. Do you believe that's a possibility, and what can be done to prevent this kind of political retribution from Democrats?
Well, do I believe it's a possibility that the Democrats will go after President Trump, his family, anybody that knows him, anybody that worked for him? I think they've proven that to be true. And what can we do about it is we can just keep on exposing. When we learn about the weaponization that happened for many years, we can keep on exposing it and putting roadblocks in place so it never happens again. I don't worry about, for myself, what happens in the future. I worry about this country. I worry about Democrats, some Democrats coming out and actually already forecasting what they're going to try to do if they get leadership again. And that's something the American people see too. The American people saw them do it for 4 years and rejected it wholehandedly. I was in the Oval Office last night with President Trump, okay? So that effort failed. And so I think that I would hope the Democrats would be a little smarter. They have so far proven themselves not to be, but it doesn't affect the work that we do.
All right.
Todd Blanche, everyone. So that means it's really going to matter who the 50 nifty United States put in as governors. Because with that sycophant, who was, by the way, having watched that trial, the hush money trial, thoroughly unimpressive in court, such that he lost that case for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a felon, in part because of his, the poor job he did in court. And obviously he didn't have a very winning case, did he? But that guy who is simply a robot that will do anything Donald Trump says, that will prosecute anyone he says, just like Pam Bondi, just like Pamela Joe. He's exactly like her, only slightly less acerbic. Like he doesn't yell and scream like she does and have hissy fits in public and try to bring burn books on people. But he really would prosecute anyone Donald Trump told him to. If Donald Trump said prosecute Melania, he'd do it. He's a sycophant. And Donald Trump has promised him that he will be attorney general and maybe then he'll be on the Supreme Court next. I don't know what he's promised him, but that's his former personal lawyer. Maybe he still pays him out of his pocket. I have no idea. But that is who he wants to be attorney general. So it's going to matter who your governor is, because your governor is going to have to wage a war or a fight against this regime on your behalf. You're going to have somebody who's willing to fight for you and fight for the. We are now the states' rights side, which is a wild place to be as the liberal progressive side. We're now the states' rights people because it's the only way we're going to have to defend and protect ourselves against the federal government. So joining me now is the man who, in my humble opinion, should have been Joe Biden's attorney general, a man who spent his career fighting for justice rather than dilly-dallying around like whatever it was that the guy that Biden picked was doing. The guy I think he should have picked, the guy I was hoping he would pick. I think I openly said he should have picked him. He didn't. But he is now running for governor of Alabama, having served as that state's senator, only to be replaced by a moron. That is me saying that. I am not going to allow Doug Jones, because when I tell you he's the nicest man in the world. Doug Jones, freedom fighter, civil rights hero, the man who prosecuted the demons who burned the 16th Street Church, former senator and candidate for governor of Alabama. How are you, Doug?
I'm doing great, Joy. It's great to see you. And congratulations on your kind of a 1-year anniversary on this show.
Yes.
I think it's awesome. Thank
Look, you know what present I got for my 1-year anniversary? We got this, the Knicks.
Look at that. Yeah, the Knicks did it for you. They did it for you.
Specifically for me. Doug, am I wrong to say, other than me being mean, my name is Joy, but sometimes I have to be mean to the other side because Tommy Tuberville is an idiot. You don't have to say it. I'll say it. Everyone knows he's an idiot. He doesn't even live in Alabama. He lives in Florida. Like he shouldn't even be he can't be governor of he would have to move there. Like he would actually have to move to the state to be the governor. Why do you think people should pay attention to who is governor of Alabama? What would be different if it was you instead of KIV and instead of Tuberville?
Well, look, I think there was one huge difference that would be have been different if I had been governor, because the governor, Doug Jones, would have never called a special session to try to do away with voting rights of so many Black Alabamians, the way the governor did, and the way the Alabama legislature rushed into session just within 48 hours or so after the Chile versus Louisiana decision. That's a huge deal. I mean, look, the Voting Rights Act was done in part because of the states like Alabama and the old Confederacy. And it was those very same states who were trying to rush in to change their congressional districts. And in Alabama's case, to a district that the Supreme Court held just 3 years ago was not constitutional. And that our 3-judge panel said was intentionally done in order to discriminate on the basis of race. But that was then, this is now, whole different world, same court, same legislature, same intentional discrimination, but all of a sudden it's out there. And so I think that's the biggest issue that you would see a difference when you're seeing protecting people's rights. Tommy Tuberville is not going to do that. He is a divider, and we're looking to try to bring our house together. We've looked the vision for governing, Joy, is a house with a crowded table where there's a place by the fire for everyone. I mean, that's a song from the Highwomen called Crowded Table. And we pretty much adopted that because that's the way I think really deeply down Alabamians really want. So you're going to see a lot, and you're going to see a protection, I think. You're going to see a governor who will stand up and speak out if there are things going on in this state that in which people's rights are being taken away.
Yeah, and you talked about this gerrymander, and of course, the Supreme Court doing a real 180, having been the bastion of defending voting rights throughout the 20th century. The Roberts Court, which is why I consider it to be a John Crow court. I call it John Crow instead of Jim Crow. You, as a civil rights lawyer, what do you make of their wholesale reversal? Is this simply John Roberts is a Republican and he wants Republican outcomes?
Well, I think if you look back on the history a little bit, Justice Roberts has never liked the Voting Rights Act. Since his days working with the Department of Justice in the Reagan administration, he has never been one to promote the Voting Rights Act. He has followed precedent up until this point. But I think right now, I mean, the Voting Rights Act is clearly gone. It exists on the books, but as a practical matter, it is totally ineffective. And what I'm seeing now with the court, unfortunately, is a court that seems to be looking for an outcome and then trying to mold their reasoning to get to that outcome, as opposed to looking at the facts, looking at the law, in which people can legitimately disagree, Joy. I mean, there are ways in interpreting things. That's why we have 9 members of the Supreme Court. But this court, at least a majority of this court, I don't put Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and Justice Kagan and Justice Sotomayor in this category, but I certainly think the majority has by and large been outcome driven. Here is the desired political outcome, the partisan outcome. How do we get there? And that is so unfortunate. It is why I think that the court's esteem and its reputation has sunk to new lows in the court's history.
You know, I was thinking, Doug, and I was thinking about this segment, and I've been really interested to talk to you about it just because you have such a unique perspective of where you've been just as a white Southerner that took the other side, you know, when it came to civil rights from, you know, what unfortunately was a majority of your sort of colleagues in the world. The opportunity cost of making a proactive decision to suppress the economic possibilities of a third of your population, right? 27% of the Alabama population is Black. And for 100 years after the Civil War, and then really going into the last, you know, even last 50 years, there was an active suppression of the economic opportunities of Black Alabamians, which is an easy way to explain why Alabama is a poor state. Same thing with Mississippi, same thing with Louisiana. If you make a third of your state intentionally poor, you cannot raise the GDP of your state. Not everybody in New York liked Black people. There was deep racism, but there wasn't an active suppression of Black economic progress, which is why New York is a rich state. Because whether you're Black or brown, Asian, wherever you're from, New York, it doesn't stand in your way in terms of economic. You see what I mean? You see what I mean?
Right.
So if you come in as governor, is there a way that you can sort of undo that thinking that there's some, even if you dislike these other people, right? I don't like MAGA, but I don't want them to all be poor because it'll make the whole country poor. I would rather that everybody make money.
That's right. You know, the old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's not, we have not had that in Alabama. Remember, the governor does have, while a governor can't do legislation, you don't have the power of the budget. There are a number of things that once that budget is done, and how the roads are built and where the roads are built, how grant monies from federal agencies are given out, that is all within the executive branch of government. What we've seen in Alabama, unfortunately, is that there has just been maybe more than pennies, but certainly not much more than nickels going over into the areas that need it the most. We have some incredible opportunities in Alabama with Redstone Arsenal and Huntsville, Alabama, Mobile with our Mobile Bay and the port down there. Birmingham is an incredible city with healthcare and education. But the fact of the matter is, we've lost so much in those other areas, particularly when there are minority communities, because those minority communities have not been voting for the governor over the last 20 so years. They've not been, they have legislators, but those legislators have also been gerrymandered so that they are somewhat packed. And so their overall voice has been diminished. And so they're not getting the spoils. The funding for the schools are uneven. The grant monies going out are uneven. And that's a problem, but that can be corrected with a governor who believes that all people should have equal opportunities to do the things and to flourish. Look at, you've been to Selma. Selma is a perfect example. People come into Selma once a year and then they kind of come and visit and go to the bridge and then they just leave. It's a day trip. And there's not been enough investment in all of the Selma area and really that entire Black Belt area, except of course for the folks that like to go down there and hunt and buy the land. And that's a whole bunch of real rich people that come down there, they hunt, they use it, then they leave. And everything else is done. But boy, they got some wonderful hunting property down there.
Yeah.
But that's all, that's generally all they do.
And I worry that states like Alabama, you know, people like Elon and, you know, Jeff Bezos look at that and they just see one big data center. So they'll poison a third of Alabama to, you know, they'll poison half. And that means white rural folks too. Anyone who lives in a rural area, they want your land because they think of a place like Alabama. They don't have respect for Alabama. They just want it to be a big data center.
Alabama's an easy mark, Joy. It's one of the things that we're running on. Alabama is an easy mark because people turn a blind eye so quickly. Things in Alabama can be done before you even know it. And that's been the biggest problem. These data centers, solar farms like down in Stockton in North Baldwin County are popping up and nobody knows about it until it's too late. And then there's very little that you can do. So I'm hoping that their local officials now are beginning to take notice and that they are beginning to put the brakes on and to put some guardrails. I think that state of Alabama should cut back on some tax abatements that are going on because these things are not going to bring jobs except for the construction jobs. And I appreciate the building trades wanting to see these data centers come. But the fact is, we have a culture in Alabama with our government, with a lack of transparency that allows these folks to come in, sign a non-disclosure agreement, for goodness sakes, and all of a sudden things start happening before people have a chance. I want to see some guardrails and some zoning put in there such that folks have an opportunity to be involved in the process, to learn about these, how it's going to affect their water, how it's going to affect their power, how it is going to affect the environment in a whole. And, you know, one of the things that I had thought about just recently when I was trying to look at all of the data centers that are coming up right now, it seems like every time you turn around, there's a new one coming into Alabama somewhere. And I did a thing where federal courts where I was a special master at one point on a big PCB cleanup. And the company that was the defendant in that had to fund a community advisory group. That community advisory group would, people from all walks of life, they would meet regularly. They were given some money to hire some experts to come in and independently view. And it seems to me like these companies who have so dang much money to throw around at all of this, the least they could do is put some money into that community to fund an advisory group of citizens who would at least have the knowledge and a say to do some things. I think if you do that, then these things can be built because they're going to be needed. We all know that data centers are going to be needed, but we can do it in a very logical way, informed way, and build these things out where they can do no harm. And those and they can benefit everybody, but yet the community has a say. They understand and they will know what's going on. That's the real key to me.
I love that. Before I let you go, I have to ask you one more national question. I take full advantage of Doug whenever I have him on. I'm like, I'm going to use all the legal. I'm going to ask him all the legal questions. Let me just quickly, for way far from Alabama, Gavin Newsom did a pretty disturbing press conference. I think this was just today. I just want to just get your take on it, if you don't mind. Jason, if you could play D3.
Days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees, not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after James Comey, Tish James, Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list.
Okay, let's leave it there.
After calling for my arrest last year, Donald.
So this is a startling, what we've said about autocracy and the signal that you're an autocracy is that if you attempt to run for president, they jail you. And everyone knows Gavin Newsom is probably going to run for president. And Donald Trump now raiding offices belonging to him and his properties and attempting to set him up for arrest. It's Mobutuism. And I just wonder what you think of it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Joy. I have not seen that news today. That was the first time I had seen this news conference. But I can't say as I'm surprised because we're seeing this over and over. What really, the thing that I did see, and it was incredibly disturbing, that I hope that people will pay attention to, because we have talked about the fact that everyone is concerned about the elections going forward. What intimidation tactics will be used in 2026 during these midterms? Because certainly there is, you can just watch the president's actions, and he doesn't care about these midterms. It is if he has a plan to control the midterms without regard to policies, without regard to trying to garner votes through influence in the policies that will help people, but through some other tactic. And we saw that start to play out this week in Ohio, where agents raided a nonprofit, pro-democracy, that has been trying to register voters, get people out to vote, do the things necessary to get civic engagement across Ohio. And all of a sudden, their offices are raided with a search warrant. Agents are fanning out across Ohio, interviewing board members and volunteers who are going door to door as an attempt. And so now we have seen the playbook being open. I think, Joy, there is a direct connection between the rise in the polls of my friend Sherrod Brown in his race to regain a Senate seat. I think there's a direct connection in the rise in the governor's race to take a Democrat there. So we're seeing this playbook. And so I can't say I'm surprised. I know the details on Governor Newsom's, but it does seem like anyone who gets on the wrong side of Donald Trump ends up on this, in the crosshairs of this Department of Justice, bar none. And that is incredibly disturbing for the future of this country.
Doug Jones, who I think would have been a far superior Attorney General to Merrick Garland. That is my personal opinion. He knows that I think that, and he gets very embarrassed and red-faced when I say it. And what I will say to those of you who are in Alabama who are watching, and I am fixated, hyper-focused on the South this season, because I think the South is where we need to make the biggest change, just like we did in the 60s. If you are being gerrymandered in the state of Alabama, if they are gerrymandering, they're gerrymandering your congressional seat races. They may gerrymander the state rep seats and state Senate. You cannot gerrymander the governor's race. It is a statewide race. So they cannot gerrymander that. That is literally a turnout driven race. It is simply a matter of more people who want Doug Jones turning out than the number of people who want Tommy Tuberville. It is a straight numbers game. So if you all are worried about gerrymandering in Alabama and you want a governor who will actually go on not just Fox, because the last thing before I let you go, Doug, because I do want to just let you get this last word in here. I think one of the reasons that states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee The reason you never see their governors on anything but Fox is they don't want the country to know what they're doing. They don't want the country to know what they're neglecting. And they want the people in those states to feel isolated and angry all the time and alienated from people in New York or somewhere else so they can keep abusing them. If you're governor, would you pledge to continue to communicate outside of the conservative? You do anyway, but to be a wide communicator. We never see an Alabama governor on TV. Like, this would be a great thing.
Yeah, and it's not just the media on conservative media, the traditional media. I've already pledged, and we're starting to do this in the campaign, to be out there a lot, to have town halls, to be able to get in with people, to talk to people on both sides of the aisle and understand what's going on in those communities. Those are the kind of things that I think a governor should be doing. We have not seen that in Alabama in a long time. We don't see it from members of our legislature, Republicans in control of that. We're going to change that dynamic, and we're going to be out in these communities. We're going to be going, I'm not going to be a governor, Joy, that just sits behind a big old desk during the legislative session and wait for the legislature to send me things that I either sign or veto. If I've got an agenda, and I will have an agenda, I'm going to be out there promoting that agenda. And I want to try to get folks on both sides of the aisle to listen to that, work together so that we can find that common ground.
Doug Jones, please give your website so people can support you.
It's a real easy one, Joy. It's DougJones.com. Please visit us.
He keeps it simple, folks. That is important in politics. Doug Jones, you're a good man. I'm not at corporate media, so I'm allowed to openly root for you, and I am openly rooting for you, my friend. Good luck. We need a good governor in Alabama. Seriously, real talk. You're a good man, so we want you to win. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy. Great to be with you.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you. You guys, listen, gerrymandering does not affect statewide races. Vote in the highest numbers you can possibly, because you might be able to tip some of those even gerrymandered seats, and you might just get yourself a damn good governor. Doug Jones would be a fantastic governor. Let's do one more ad break before we get to our final segment. Tonight's episode, y'all. You know what's brought to you by? I'm going to show you the box. Now, notice it's not full. I'm going to tell you who has not had one of these. This is Mosh Bars. They're brought to you by Mosh, who were one of our wonderful sponsors for the Joy Reid Show Live. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring the Joy Reid Show Live. But I can tell you, this box was full the last time I saw it. I don't know who's been eating the Mosh Bars this time. I don't know who ate them on the night of the show, because I didn't get one that night, even though they were literally a sponsor. But that's fine. You may have heard of Mosh because they are the thing that is the most stolen item from the Joy Reid Show's pantries. But Mosh is also a product of wonderful Maria Shriver and her son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, who had a mission to create a conversation about brain health through food education and research. They have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families who are dealing with Alzheimer's. So Mosh joined forces with top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar. Each Mosh bar is made up of ingredients that support brain health: ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, omega-3s, a game-changing, brain-boosting ingredient you will not find in any other bar. This is how I know that whoever took the Mosh Bars know they did it, because their brain is super healthy and they know what they're doing. Mosh is the first and only food brand boosted with cognizin, which is a premium nootrotic that supports the brain, and patented form of citrulline. If you want to try it, they also make their research gender-based, because more women actually suffer from Alzheimer's than men. So they're like conscious of that too. So if you want to try it, you can find your favorites, build your boxes, keep things fresh with a variety pack. Something like this, except it's full. Mosh Bars are the best way to customize your health while giving back. Go to moshlife.com/read. Subscribe today to get 25% off your first variety pack, 20% off your monthly subscription with code READ. That's 25% off your first pack and 20% off your subscription of brain-boosting bars delivered straight to your door. Start building brain health into your everyday with Mosh Bars. Thank you to Mosh for sponsoring this episode. And please send me my own box with my name on it. Thank you. It wasn't just the ghetto UFC mess that was at the White House this weekend. There was also a plaintiff call for justice. Take a look.
Things that authoritarians want you to do is shut up. They want the lies to have the last word, but say not on our watch. They want meanness to have the last word. Say not on our watch. They want you to be scared to be in the street, but say not on our watch. No, we have to speak, for the Bible declares the power of life and death is in the tongue. The greatest nonviolent thing you can do first in a season of lies is to tell the truth. That's why Moral Monday is every Monday. Hold your signs high so folk around the world and then they can see all of you, can come. And somebody take pictures and begin to just send them out, send them out, send them out. Everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome.
We are here today because people are hurting. SNAP benefits have been cut for 3.5 million poor people. Health care has been stripped from millions of Americans. Our immigrant neighbors are being kidnapped from their homes and jobs. They're being kidnapped from their jobs to be put in concentration camps where they're forced to work. The cost of living has gone up for all of us because of an illegal and immoral war in Iran. And while the majority of Americans oppose what they see happening, this regime and its Supreme Court have conspired to dilute the power of our vote. We are here because the people who control our government have turned it against.
And joining us now is Assistant Director of the Center at Yale, and a lecturer in public theology, spiritual writer, preacher, and community cultivator, chair of the board for Repairs of the Breach, Jonathan Wilson Hartgrove, as well as minister and activist, founding director of the Center for Public Theology and Public Policy, and a professor of practice in public theology at Yale Divinity School, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign and president of Repairs of the Breach, a moral movement building organization. On this Moral Monday, our Moral Monday pastor, Bishop Barber. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about you all doing your own version of a White House event that was not involving a cage match, Jonathan Wilson Hartgrove. Your thoughts on all the spectacle this weekend, and why were you all there?
Well, you know, the so-called ultimate fight was a sort of distraction and a sort of performance of a view of power that we think is fundamentally flawed, because the true fight, the real fight, is the nonviolent fight for the tools of our government. And that's what has been stolen from the people. And so the pulpit in front of the White House is about raising a moral cry against the violence that's being done by our government against people, and casting a vision for how we can reclaim the government and reconstruct this democracy.
Bishop Barber, you know, I know that you were listening to Doug Jones, who has his own moral fight that he's been fighting really his whole adult life in Alabama. And it feels like that fight is so prescient now. It's like we're back to the 1960s, 50s. And the fact that you all had to preach in front of the White House, it says something about where we are.
It does. And I was there when Doug won for the Senate. In fact, we went down and mobilized Black and white people around economic issues and race issues. And it was a key factor in him winning in the Senate. You know, Joe, we go to church on Sundays and synagogue on Saturdays and temple and mosque on Friday every week. The Bible tells us we should have a pulpit in the street in front of the halls of power every week. That was never meant to be quarantined. The truth of the gospel, the truth of the prophets was never meant to be quarantined, right? It should be in the street. It should be laying out both a critique of policy. I think we're rooting in Jeremiah 22, it says, go down to the palace and tell the king these 7 things. Stop killing people. Stop mistreating the immigrants. Stop hurting children. I mean, it's just clear. And then it says, because this is the only way to prove you love God. If you're not doing these things, all of the other stuff is just choreographed holiness. But it has nothing to do with true, authentic, moral authority. So we're doing that, and it's in 16 states. We're going to build out. July 6th is going to be a big day, but we're having tens and tens of thousands of people. We're now getting major groups that are live streaming, and people are coming out. We have the Episcopal deacon, the bishop of the Lutheran Church, a major Baptist minister came all the way up from Charlotte. Last week we had a lady who's over the convocation of the Christian church. I mean, people are starting to understand. And we turn one of the speakers to the White House, Joy, every Monday. And the witness, the song says, God needs a witness. We have to keep the witness going consistently. And this is what I want to say about Alabama. As you were talking to Judge, somebody has to tell folks, listen, Trump won Alabama by 670,000 votes. But did you know that 12% of black folk voted for Trump in Alabama? Did you know that 46% of poor folk voted for Trump in Alabama? But that means 55% didn't. Did you know that in Alabama there are 1.2 plus million poor and low income people? Uh, Over 600,000 of them didn't even vote at all. And if there was someone running in Alabama for governor, for whatever, that knows these numbers and mobilize these people who are getting hurt, as Jonathan said, and the government has been turned against them, that's actually where you have the power to shift even a deep southern state. And not so much by coming to the South to rescue the South, but by people who are already in the South being empowered to strengthen and deepen the work that they're already doing, and no longer saying that these areas are off limit. Somebody has to stand up and say, no, I'm going to be a witness to another reality.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, I was, it sort of occurred to me as I was having the conversation with Doug Jones, and I had wanted to talk to him about this for a long time, that there's a desire among the present leaders of the Deep South for their state to be invisible to the nation. They allow some visibility to Fox, and they stay on Fox just themselves, and they talk about narrow issues like that random trans kid maybe playing theoretically sports somewhere that no one's ever seen, and that, one instance of some immigrant doing a crime. They try to just keep you focused on that. What they want is for us to look at the UFC fight in DC and not look at Alabama. Because if you really looked at Alabama and saw Alabama and looked into it, you'd see that they were being abused by data centers, that they were being abused by forced poverty. I mean, you keep a third of your state poor on purpose based on racism, you have a poor state. They don't want anyone to see it. So how can we raise the visibility of states like Alabama so that even the Democrats are forced to see them?
Well, that's one of the reasons that we're having these Moral Mondays. I just came from the one in Raleigh, North Carolina, and one of the facts we were paying attention to is that 218,000 people in North Carolina have already lost access to health care since the big ugly bill passed last year. Now, when we were there, people from North Carolina came up to Moral Mondays last year to tell members of Congress what was going to happen. We even had a Republican senator from North Carolina, Tom Tillis, oppose the bill because he acknowledged that some 600,000 people would eventually lose their health care because of the cuts. But the Congress went ahead and pushed it through anyway, and Trump signed it. So the people in these places know what's happening to them. They see what's happening, and they see that at the same time that the results of this policy violence is beginning to hit the community. Folks are losing SNAP benefits. Folks are losing their health care. That's when the attack on voting rights is happening. We've seen the states gerrymandering. We're looking right here in North Carolina at a bill that's being proposed this week in the legislature to basically rearrange the state election board so that the Republicans who are in charge of it right now can manipulate it to do whatever they want.
That's right.
So these are people who understand that there are folks in their states that do not like what they're doing, and they are taking active measures to suppress the power of those people's vote.
And Bishop, how then do you get people to force their way back into power? Because you're seeing what you just described as resignation. If 670,000 people just say, I'm just not, there's no point. How do you get them to change their mind?
Well, two ways. One is, as a preacher, even on Sundays, that's the point of the pulpit, to keep people focused, right, on what we're supposed to be. When you go into church on Sunday, it is to remind you of your moral vision, of your calling, what you're supposed to be about. Well, just like you need that in the private sector, you need it in the public. People have to be reminded. People have to be inspired. People have to be revived. And also, you have to make sure, though, that it's not just critique. I'm a little concerned about even some people that are running for office, and they'll spend their whole 30 minutes before a crowd just on critique of Trump. Now, you should critique it. But people, if you go to the end of the Selma to Montgomery March, and Dr. King did his sermon over 45 minutes in Montgomery, the last part of it, he says, give us the ballot, and then he lays out a vision of what the vote is for. Not just what we're against, but what it's for. And that has to be consistent, just like synagogue every Saturday, just like it has to be over and over again. That's what we're doing. Secondly, you've got to have politicians who will stop ignoring people, who will offer folk a vision, when they can hear it most. And you know when you can hear it most, you know when you'll take your medicine the most? When you're sick.
Yeah.
When you're hurting. See, the enemies of justice always make a one critical mistake. They make too many people hurt. It's a great scripture in the Bible, and it puzzled me for years when God tells Ezekiel to go to the valley of dry bones. And I'm thinking, and I said, here are people who were so dismissed that they didn't even get a proper burial. These were the people that policy leaders just like the Bible says, there was an epidemic of justice. And God sends Ezekiel, he says, your hope is in the valley of dry bones. Now go down there and preach. And I'm saying, wait a minute, they are half buried, so forth. But the teaching, the deep wisdom of that text is pain opens people's ears at a deep level. Hurt will open people's heart at a deeper level. And when that's what drew black and white people together after the Civil War. They saw that they had all been bamboozled, right, in the first Reconstruction. And it opened them up to hear one another. White folk, former slave, former freeman, and you know what they did in the first Reconstruction. And so I believe if the politicians and small leaders will have the courage in this moment to recognize history is not finished, it is unfolding. And the question is, what will be our message and our mission and our witness in the unfolding? What will we plan ourselves, in this moment?
And I mean, Jonathan, I think that is brilliant to get people to see that. I think the problem is that the people that are harming these people don't fear them. You know what I mean? They have so suppressed their hope that they're not worried about the poor people in their state, even the poor white people. They're not worried those poor white people are going to vote against them. They just dangle, silly distractions in front of them. They think that's enough. But for most of those people, they don't even vote on that. They don't vote at all. I always tell people try to blame poor white people for voting for Trump and voting for Republicans. They don't vote. They don't vote.
Which is an opportunity. Which is where the
always, potential.
They may actually, but there are moments, Joy, in history where people do start fearing what people are doing to them. There are some hurting folk now. And Jonathan and I always look at the numbers. Yes, poor folk may vote for somebody like Trump, but look at the other side. Last year, what was it, Jonathan? Last time was the first time that poor and low-wage people, $50,000 family, voted over 50% for a Republican. That had not been happening. So it's two sides of the coin. Yes, there are people that don't vote, but there's also a group of folk who have consistently voted progressive, not enough. And part of the reason is that they're not being, Joy, what do we do when we go to church and the preacher? We say one of three things. We say it, Reverend, or we say, help him, Lord. and in some ways, we need to be saying, help him, Lord. You got all these folk out here that are not participating, and you're not going to go after them. You're not going to give them a vision for a better future. You're going to allow them to continue to be hurting and not believe that there's the possibility that in this moment, enough of them, because you don't need all of them. You don't need all of them. You just need
more of them.
More
you just need, last word to you, Jonathan Winslow-Hartgrove. How do we get more of them?
Well, one thing is to help people understand the potential of their power. So all of that policy violence we were talking about that came through this Congress is the result of a majority in that Congress that is really just based on 7,000 votes in a national election where some 90 million people didn't vote. So people who are feeling the pain of that policy literally have the power to show up. And in some of these places in the South where they've gerrymandered, they've gambled that they don't need as much margin as they had last time. So if people show up who haven't voted because they know that they have the power to change who's in power, who's representing them in the Congress, then we could have different representation in the midterm elections. I think that's the essential thing, to tell people that you have power, and if we use it together, we have an opportunity to have a very different vision for what the government can do.
Amen. Jonathan Wilson-Hartgrove and Bishop William J. Barber II. Thank you all. Thank you all, and happy Moral Monday. And thank you for always speaking truth to power.
And we're headed to Germany. We'll talk to you when we get back.
No way. Where are you in Germany? What y'all going to do in Germany?
Well, we're actually headed. Jonathan is, and I am, and I'll be lecturing and preaching in Germany, in Berlin. Jonathan can say where he'll be. But interestingly enough, the German people and the church is really wrestling with what must be its position now in this alternative for Germany that's rising up, and
Yeah.
this extreme right. But it's interesting that in this moment, the bishop and the president of the World Council says, "Come over here, and let's begin to have a international geopolitical moral conversation about what's really going on." Jonathan, you
Well,
tell her where you'll be.
I can't be envious with pastors on with me, so I won't say that I'm envious of y'all going to Germany without me, but I'm just going to think it in my mind and not say it out loud. Bishop Barber, call me on WhatsApp while you're over there. Bishop William Barber, Jonathan Wilson Hargrove, two of our favorites. Happy More Monday. Thank y'all both very much. Safe
Thank
travels.
you.
Be with you, Joy.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Before we go and before we get to our moment of joy, let me give you some breaking news. Michelle Obama, we're trying to see if Michelle Obama is going to sue. There was somebody that was in the chat that was saying that Michelle Obama had filed a federal lawsuit regarding this attack, but I'm not seeing that. I just saw it in the chat. So I do not believe that that is confirmed yet. I'm going to attempt to try to confirm it, but I did see it in the chat. So I want to make sure that that is not the case. However, there is reporting that the Obamas are considering a defamation suit against Josh Hokett, the UFC, and Paramount. So that is something to keep an eye on. There is, and this is not confirmed, so I cannot report it as confirmed news. But that word is out there that there is a consideration. They're considering filing a defamation lawsuit. And if they did, and I would highly recommend that they do, they should name not just this fool, I think his name is Josh Hokett, that actually said the defamatory thing. They should also target Paramount, which is the only entity allowed to stream this monstrosity, and they are the deep pocket. This is the billionaire Ellisons that now own TikTok, Paramount, Warner. They will soon own CNN. They're the deep pocket, and they should sue UFC, which would mean they would also be suing Trump. Here would be the benefit of suing all of these people: discovery. Michelle Obama's attorneys would be able to dig into this deal that Donald Trump has with UFC, wherein he owns a part of it and purchased a part of it just before announcing this private enterprise on the lawn of the White House. There was a lawsuit to try to stop it, but the Judge Mehta ruled that they did not have standing and that the process had gone too far down the road. Now, I would also say that there may be a world in which there's a class action lawsuit that we, the American people, consider filing. This was a private event owned by a private company, partially owned by the president, on our public White House, on the grounds of our property. And we, as the homeowners association, should be allowed to object. And at that private event, on a publicly funded with our tax money cage, our former first lady was disparaged and defamed. This was a clear, open, televised defamation. It's recorded. Everyone has the recording. I have it. I'll never delete it. And I think anyone who was deeply offended, as I was, and enraged by this drunken fool calling out our former first lady by her name, if you called the current first lady a hoe or a prostitute, she would sue you. She has sued bloggers, little small bloggers with absolutely no money. She sued Michael Wolff for implying that Jeffrey Epstein introduced her to Donald Trump. She will sue, for people saying the smallest things, even though she has nudes that are public. If you talk about those, she will sue you. So why shouldn't the former first lady be equally litigious? Why should she not go and find the biggest, sharkiest shark of a lawyer in America and sue that guy, Hokett, the drunk bum who called her out her name, sue UFC, sue Dana White, who runs UFC, sue Donald Trump, who owns part of UFC, sue UFC itself, and sue Paramount? Why shouldn't she? She was defamed. She was defamed. And we, the people, by proxy, were defamed. We were wronged. it is wholly inappropriate. When Donald Trump came to the White House after having committed an attempted coup, after having attempted to overthrow the government, you know how he was welcomed on the grounds of the White House? Joe Biden said, "Welcome home." He didn't defame him. He didn't call him a fascist on the grounds of the White House. He didn't call him a fascist on the grounds of the White House, even though he is one, even though he's literally erecting concentration camps in America. And those who have called this a Nazi minstrel show, kudos to you and your nomenclature. It was a hot ghetto mess, and I'm embarrassed. And also, I'm really angry about what was said about Michelle Obama. It was completely inappropriate. Where is the apology? If anyone has news on that, if any of the producers can find me any news, any word that there's been an apology to Michelle Obama, I certainly haven't seen it. So that news that was in the chat is not verified that she is suing. So we just wanted to make sure we clear that up, since that was in our chat, and we don't want there to be fake news going out over the chat, and then people take away and think that it's real. There is some rumor out there that there is that they are considering it, but there is no. So I want to break that news. There is no word that there's no confirmable news that Michelle Obama is suing. There's just a rumor mill that she is considering, that the Obamas as a couple are considering it. It would not be wrong, by the way, if Barack Obama went Will Smith on that UFC fighter. People have been slapped for less. Comedians have been slapped in their face in public for less than what that man said about his wife. So if he went Will Smith on that guy, it would be completely justified as a husband. I don't know who could wrong him. But I want to make sure that you guys do not take away fake news. That is my breaking news, is that there is no breaking news. Sorry, Jason. Jason.
You know what? You want to know what's so great about that? At least Barack Obama can walk up to a MMA fighter and slap him in the face and get away with it. I wouldn't do it. Not even a matter of fact about being fit. He got the Secret Service behind him, and I would dare them to touch Barack Obama. So he can get away with it. I couldn't get away with it. I'd have to shoot that bastard. But anyway.
I'm telling you, this man went on national TV on Paramount, where people were paying to watch him do a blood match, a blood fight on the lawn of our White House, which is shameful in every way you can think of. The whole world is laughing at us. The whole world is disgusted. Yes, this is true. Yes, Emmanuel Macron and his wife did sue Candace Owens. I think that suit is ongoing for calling her, because Candace Owens called the First Lady of France a man, and the lawsuit erupted. The Mrs. Macron, it's not reportedly, 100% sued Candace Owens. It's not reportedly. That's actually true. That came in the chat. That we're just looking at the chat. She did sue her. She sued Candace Owens is in a lawsuit that she is complaining is bankrupting her, because she's being sued by Emmanuel Macron's wife, by the First Lady of France, because she called her a man, and she did a whole podcast series trying to say that this woman is a man. You just can't call people out of their name like that. Again, Melania Trump has sued bloggers, people with a tiny blog, for implying that she is a lady of the night. And she sued them over that. She 100% sued them over that. Was going to sue a broke person into poverty over that. She sued Michael Wolff for simply saying or implying that Jeffrey Epstein introduced her to Donald Trump. She sued over that. And they're locked in a lawsuit. And then he sued her back to get discovery. His lawsuit was thrown out in an anti-SLAPP motion, but he sued her back and said, good, give me discovery. Lawsuits, you can open up discovery. You get to find out who that person is. So I think she should sue. Let's dig out all the dirt on that man and on the UFC. It's fine. Get in their books, Michelle. Don't go high, Michelle. I know you said when they go low, we go high, but Michelle, I can't call you Michelle. First Lady. Madam First Lady. If I saw her in person, I would never call her Michelle. I would call her Madam First Lady. Madam First Lady, when they go low and it's about you, we're going to the Earth's core. To quote Sonny Hostin, when they go low, we're going to the Earth's crust, deep into the core of the planet, as low as we can possibly go, and then we're going to go even lower. That's how we roll. Because we're dealing with fascists and autocrats and people who are throwing cage matches in a ghetto mess on the White House lawn. So there's no reason to go high with MAGA. They don't deserve it. All right, let's play our moment of joy. You can guess what it is. It won't be a surprise. It's about my favorite thing. Angela Reid's gonna literally walk across the continent to come get me because I keep talking about the Knicks. She's so mad at me, but I don't care because I'm gonna keep talking about it. I love you, Angela Reid. All right, play the moment of joy.
Still Muslim? My bagel's still Jewish? Even the Pope's on our side?
He was right. He was right.
I haven't met him, but he is a New Yorker whose words have really stayed with all of us. You know, thanks to him, there are a lot of people who've just been running up to me over the last few weeks, just shouting at me, "My mayor's Muslim." I said, "It's true. I am."
And my bagel is Jewish, and so is this news anchor, and it's a beautiful thing, New York City here.
It speaks to just what this city is, and even this team. It's not just a cookie cutout of the same thing again and again. It's every single player having a role, bringing together all of the 5 boroughs for this moment. It's truly a joy.
That is our moment of joy. Last thing I'll say before I go, one more piece of breaking news. It's not really breaking news. Less than 24 hours after this UFC fighter attacked Michelle Obama, Dana White, who is the chairman and CEO of UFC, his response was he called that comment nasty and false, dismissing it as nonsense. No comment yet from the White House. No comment yet from the White House, and no apology from anybody, including Dana White. Madam former First Lady, when they go low, straight to the Earth's core. Have a nice day, everyone. We'll see you Wednesday. Don't forget, if you want to get any of the fabulous merch, get it before Juneteenth. This is super cute. I love it. This is the one that's the traditional colors of the Juneteenth flag, but we have like 4 different versions of them. But yes, and we are hoping that particularly no Black player sets foot in that White House now ever again when he's in there, and until it's fumigated and they've gone through it and checked to make sure there's no bugs in there, literal and also the recording kind. Peace. See you guys on Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks for letting us go a little long. Love y'all. See you on the next Joy Reid Show. Peace.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees that I'm hard to detect. Like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick. And I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party. So I'm a real talk about it. For